Good morning. This is a really weird screen because there's no game on it at the minute. Hi. Hello. This is going well already. So, my plan this morning. If you don't know, I wrote a game called The Wretched. Let me see if I can find it. Professional setup. Okay, let's try this again. Hello. So, a little while ago, I wrote a game called The Wretched, which is a solo journaling space horror game, and we've been running a game jam. If you go on Twitter and search Wretched #Wretched Jam, hello, holy crow Batman, hi. If you go on Twitter and search for #Wretched Jam, you'll find all these games that people have been making based on the rules of the Wretched, and it's been really awesome to see everyone making these games. And so I wrote the Wretched and I made this system. I actually have not played a Wretched and Alone game, which is a bit pathetic, really. So I'm gonna play one today. Where are we? We're gonna play Before the Dawn. This is my weird cobbled together setup for playing a Wretched game. So if you don't know, Wretched games use a Jenga tower here. They use a deck of cards. I'm using the storages, definitely unmarked playing cards from Fail Better Games that were made for Sunless Skies, Fallen London even, because they're really, really pretty. And you need a D6 and some counters of some kind. I've actually forgotten to get any tokens, but whatever. So, the game I'm playing today, is Before the Dawn. This is a folk horror game based on things like the Blair Witch Project and the Ritual and the Witch. Words. How does Alex credit themselves? Bear with me a second here. I don't want to get anyone's names wrong. It's a game by Alex C. You can find it on itch at vlxcat.itch.io/before the dawn. I'll drop a link in chat right now because I would really like everyone to go and support these games and the Wretched Jam and the people who are making these awesome things. So that's the game I'm playing today. So let's just go through it. This is going to be a game of solo horror. Again, I haven't played any of these games myself yet, so I don't know how this is going to go. The reason I haven't played any of these is because I'm super self-conscious about this shit, even though I write these games myself. So we will see how this goes. Rabbitsman, hello, how are you? So Before the Dawn is laid out beautifully, by the way. This artwork is fantastic. So we start with some trigger warnings. This game includes descriptions of violence, descriptions of being pursued and hunted, although to be clear, you are the hunter. Before the Dawn explicitly places the player in the role of a monster whose existence is neither pleasant nor kind. I can get behind that. I don't know how you pronounce this word, but Before the Dawn was written on unceded land. For up-to-date information on how the author is paying the rent, visit alexwritesthings.com, and that's a reference to the Indigenous peoples of Australia. So Before the Dawn. You were human once, a worshipper of dead gods, abandoned by the histories of those who live in the light. Long ago you were chosen to become something more, a creature of the deepest dark and keeper of the blood-soaked rituals that made you. Now you roam and you hunger, and someone is in your woods. I love it already. They have witnessed you in all your terrible glory, and your cursed existence relies on their demise, for you are not a nightmare who can survive being known. You have lived too long, your flesh putrefying with every step, and your bones longing to sink into the deep, dark earth, and this intruder's wide, terrified eyes are a harbinger of the last night you will ever haunt. The ancient power that once thrummed within your breast flakes and crumbles with every passing moment, a shadow of what once was. This power will be seared away to nothing under the harsh light of day. There are none who worship your gods anymore, and your existence draws to a lonely conclusion. But there may be a way out. You have done it before, bathed in blood, stripped flesh from bone and hung haunting tableau in the treetops, paying homage to the ones who made you and drawing strength from the echoes of their power. Follow the intruder, find them, make your sacrifice, do it before the dawn. That is such a fucking moody, atmospheric intro. That's amazing. What we need is some music, actually. Like Blair Witch and shit like that works so well because it's got no music, but for a game like this we want a background music. So I don't want to get hit. It's such a good intro, isn't it? I don't want to get slapped with a copyright strike, so I'm just going to put my soundtrack from Go Alone on. This is the soundtrack you get with my game Go Alone, which is also a Wretched and Alone game, so we'll use this. Turn it down slightly. That intro is so good, Alex. Okay, what? Before the Dawn is a folk horror single-player journaling game inspired by films like The Witch and The Blair Witch Project, books like Harvest Home by Thomas Trayon and The Ritual by Adam Neville, and the music of Danheim, and I don't know how you say that, but I'm going to listen to them. The tale is a familiar one. Someone has ventured too deep into the woods, and that which slumbers has been awoken. There were signs, of course, the strange constructions of sticks and stones, the crumbling cottage full of horrors, and the cries in the dark. In this particular version of the tale, you are the creature howling into the night. You are the monster, ancient and terrible, hurtling toward your own end at the hands of humanity. Because that's how these stories always end, don't they? Oh, this is so good. To play, you will need a standard deck of playing cards with no joker, so I'll take the jokers out of my deck. I think there's actually an advert in this deck as well. Let me find that and take that out. Yes, there's an advert there as well. 1 6-sided die. 10 tokens, preferably sticks or twigs. I haven't actually got any tokens. I didn't plan ahead for this. We'll use other dice, right? Give me 1 second. Okay, so I've got my tokens. So in the Wretched, because you're fixing a spaceship, I recommended that you use nuts and bolts and screws, and that's not a facet of the game system that I thought people would pick up on, but they have, and it's really cool. Tumbling block tower, optional. I'm going to try and play Jenga. I have to like reach around my mic to play it, and I've had a lot of coffee, so I'm a bit shaky this morning, so this might not last very long. And a way to record your game. I'm talking to you. There is only one way to survive this night. Catch the intruder and declare your devotion to the dead gods who shape your form and guide your hand. And obviously I'm not going to talk anything. If you don't know anything about Wretched and Alone games, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. Set your tumbling block tower in the standard fashion for block tower games. Roll your dice and complete that many pulls from the tower. Time is already slipping away from you. I rolled a 6. We're going to do 6 pulls from this tower. And I'm not going to do... I'm new to Wretched and Alone games, so I'm really interested to see how this plays out. Awesome. Well, I will not spoil it for you then. We're going to do 6 pulls from the tower. I'm not going to worry about the rule about only using one hand because of the way I'm having to reach over. So one thing that people... I didn't spell out in the Wretched... just because I assumed that everyone knows how to play Jenga, which was a silly assumption, I guess. I didn't clarify that you're supposed to put the blocks back on the top, and some people were playing them just taking the blocks out. But yeah, you put the blocks back on the top unless the game says otherwise. Christ, this tower's already really unstable. 4. Oh, good God. 5 and 1 more. Fuck me, that's already wobbling everywhere. This might be a short game, folks. Okay, 6 pulls from the tower. Jesus. Alright. Roll your dice and complete how many pulls from the tower. If the tower falls at any point, read the text on page 10. Shuffle your deck of playing cards and place them face down. Weirdly, a lot of Jenga knockoffs don't ask you to turn them either, maybe to make them legally distinct. That is interesting. I did not know that. This is a proper Jenga tower, and it's the only one I've ever owned, because who owns more than one Jenga tower? That is very interesting. Okay, we've shuffled the deck. Record your first whisper, your first audio log reading from the below script. 6 pulls, this can only go well, I know. Okay. I'm not going to try and do like a roleplay voice because it's early in the morning. I can smell you. Do you know that, small one? I can smell you and I'm hungry. These woods are not for you. I will find you, and maybe one day another traveller will come across the crumbling remains of your scarred and broken bones and wonder what became of you. And they will find out. But first, you. Where are you? God, this game just oozes atmosphere. The first critical moment of this night is upon you. Begin. Okay. Before the dawn exists in a series of moments before the sun rises. They may be heartbeats, minutes, or hours. In each moment, you will consult the stars and follow the instructions they give you, and then whisper those events to the intruder. 1. Instructions in the stars. Roll your dice and draw that number of cards from the deck, keeping them face down. Turn over the first card and consult the stars. Follow the instructions on the cards as you turn them over. When you have completed this moment's cards, discard them unless instructed otherwise. 2. The whispers. Describe the events you drew from the cards and record these whispers as your audio log. You whisper to the intruder as the night wears on, your dead leaf putrid moss voice slinking through the trees and clawing up from beneath the dirt to trickle deep inside their fragile little skull. Tell them what you have remembered, what you have seen, what the gods have told you. Fuck me, Alex writes so well. Okay. Stars on the tower. Okay, we won't read that because that's what we do if the tower falls, and I don't want to ruin anything. So, we'll just start. So roll the dice, 3, and we draw 3 cards from the deck. 1, 2, 3, keep them face down. And then we turn over the first card and we consult the stars. So the first card, the ace of, I don't even know what suit that is in this deck. That's a good start. I assume that's diamonds. We're going to call that diamonds. Diamonds are the decades, the centuries you have left behind and your memories of them. Drawing a diamond will prompt you to look backward, to remember as you begin to face the creeping awareness that you may not have a future. You have done terrible things. You have been a terrible thing. Once though, once you were human, do you still hold that part of you deep within yourself? What would the you who once was think of what you became? I'm going to turn the audio down a little. Okay. So we've got the ace of diamonds to begin with. The sheen of terror glazing the intruder's expression when they saw you has stirred memories of other ways people have looked at you. When was the last time someone smiled at you? Pull from the tower. So we're going to say, I don't know what the best way to do is to decide these things, or just have the questions in mind and then do the audio log. I might do that. The last time someone smiled at me was when I lured them to my cottage disguised as someone who was going to help them when they were lost in the woods, and their smile turned to terror when they realised what I was. And we're going to pull from the tower. God, that's wobbly already. This might be a very short game of Before the Dawn. Okay, next card is the 8 of diamonds. The beings to which you were bound were worshipped once, and their worship demanded sacrifice. Were you a willing disciple or an unwilling subject when your soul was given over to these oldest of gods? Ooh, okay. I think I was an unwilling subject. I think I myself was lost in the woods, and the previous creature, which was dying, took me and turned me. Oh god. Okay, and the next one. Another diamond, 6. So we're starting with our history here. It has been a very long time since you walked in the daylight. What do you remember about the sensation of sunlight on soft, mortal skin? Angular fish, thank you very much for the follow. Alright, we'll do a pull from the tower. This is a very wobbly tower already. What do I remember about sunlight? Do you know what? All I remember about sunlight is how it burned. It's been so long that all I remember is the pain. So, this is the bit. So the reason I haven't played any Wretched and Alone games myself is because this bit, the recording the audio log, I find so uncomfortable for me to do myself. But let's do it. Okay. So, to remind me, we have... What have we got? The last time someone smiled at me, was I a willing disciple, and the sensation of sunlight. So okay, I remember how the sunlight burned. Trapped alone, out in the bright light, my skin searing, you came to me. You took me to the cottage, but you told me it would be cool and safe, but then you turned. You turned yourself and you turned me, and I became like you, and as you died, your husk slithered off and left me standing, rotting where you once were. Ages passed, and others came, and I lured them, broke them, feasted on them, and I remember the way they smiled before they knew the truth of who I was. And we'll put those cards to the side. So, we roll the dice, we draw more cards. 4 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 2 of clubs. I think that's a 2 of spades, actually. No, that's a 2 of clubs. I'm so confused by the suits on these cards. Poor choice. We'll call that clubs. When your gods still had worshippers, these mortals would build things in the forest to honour the gods, and by extension, you. Some of these creations linger. What do they look like? Oh, so hang on. Clubs is the forest around you. It has always been there and will be there long after you are gone. When you draw a club and you are engaging with the woods you've made your home, they are part of you and have twisted themselves to accept and even embrace your unnatural presence. Cool. So, 2 of clubs. People built things in the forest to worship me, and some of these creations linger. So like in Blair Witch we had those wooden totems, these little, you know, the thing, the sticks tied together with twine. I think the people built man-sized, almost scarecrows just out of wrapped together straw. They're kind of humanoid but not, and they used to burn them in effigy. And we have 10 of spades. So spades are... Where are we? Spades are the dead gods who still claim you, who will work through you for as long as you walk this earth. Spades urge you to forget the past, the danger of this final night, to forge ahead in blood and bone and begin their worship anew. Spades drive you inexorably towards your own goal, all the while insisting you and they are eternal. Fantastic. Spades, the dead gods. Sometimes there are moments of silence between the onslaught of God's given knowledge. In these rare heartbeats of serenity, you have your own thoughts. What are you thinking? What am I thinking in the moments of silence between God's given knowledge? I think I'm remembering the human that I once was, as though remembering a dream, and it doesn't feel real. And one of the reasons I hunt is to take these people apart and see what in them reminds them of me. And we've got the Queen of Dead Gods. They work through you and they work upon you. Your form has been altered further tonight. What has changed? So what's happened on this particular evening? That's a card that I would really like to have drawn a little later in the game, I think. Once I've got a better sense of this character that we're building. But I think my form is constantly shifting and changing, and like vestigial things come and go. And I think on this evening, I think my flesh has turned to bark. And we also need to complete a pull from the tower. Oh, good God. This thing is very wobbly. Cool. And final one for this day. I haven't shuffled these cards well at all. You were urged to collect every stone smaller than your fist but larger than your knuckle until you cascade back to the earth in a pile that looks almost deliberate. Count the stones. Holy fuck. Okay, so our form has changed. What am I thinking of in the moments of silence? And the mortals built things in the forest and I'm counting stones. Okay. The effigies still stand and the fires still burn, and in the darkness it burns away and is left with light. My skin sloughs and turns, and I turn to the bark of the forest, and the fire reaches for me, and I become one with the flame, and I burn and I scream with you. And in the moments between, I think of what I was, of the days when I was like you. And with my hard skin I gather hands and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. But the fires burn and they pull my attention. And when the sun comes again, I flee. I feel very self-conscious doing this, but fuck it. Day 3. 2. That's a bit better. 2. Okay, so we've got the Jack of Clubs. One of your too many limbs snags on something and you stagger briefly into the cold bark of a tree that may be as old as you are. What has caused this rare and troubling stumble? Pull from the tower. So, our flesh changed the night before, and we're still getting used to this new form, and part of the change is that my feet have grown big and gnarled and thick, like roots of a tree, and they try to dig into the ground as I move. If I stand still too long, my feet try to dig into the ground and root me there, and that's what's caused me to stumble. Oh God, oh God. Okay. And 10. The wind curls around the clattering limbs of the trees and brings with it the scent of your quarry. What does the intruder smell like? Okay, so this new form you've given me shifts and holds me tight. My feet dig for moisture in the ground, my roots, my tendrils extend. I can barely move. I cannot hunt like this, but I can smell it. It smells like youth, ripeness, blood. That'll do. Okay, next day. 4 this time. I don't think we're going to survive much longer, you know. Okay. 8 of spades. The intruder's heavy footprints wind clearly along the bank of a still, silent pond. It seems careless of them. Do you follow the footprints, or do you think it is misdirection? I mean, I'm eternal and powerful, right? So, I look down on my prey. I don't ascribe any intelligence to my prey. So, yeah, I'm going to follow and we'll pull from the tower. This is so wobbly. Okay, next one. 6. I keep pulling the same suits, but that kind of works. How long has the intruder been in your woods? It's hard to tell, but they must be tired and hungry and hopefully afraid. What do you say to them to encourage them to give up? Okay. I guess when I get to the recording bit, I'll figure out what I'm going to say to them. We're probably going to... I mean, we've already established that I have a ruined cottage that I've lured people to. So, it's going to be that, isn't it? And pull from the tower again. This one here looks like a good one. Yeah, there we go. God damn it! Okay. Okay, let's get to this last page. So none of that happens. If the tower falls, the intruder has led you into a ritual of their own and it will destroy you. Read the below if the tower falls. Maybe that was not terror in their eyes when the sickly yellow harvest moon caught you in its gaze and revealed you to this mortal. Maybe it was triumph. Because as you step into the clearing, haunted gaze glued to the intruder's sweat-soaked and filthy form, your world tilts. It begins to slide, and you feel your legs collapsing beneath you. You scramble backward, but hit an unseen barrier, the dark sanctuary of your woods so close but entirely out of reach. There in the dirt are symbols you have not seen in millennia. Panic sets in now because you can no longer move at all. The intruder is speaking, tongue heavy around an unfamiliar language. To you it sounds like home, like death. You begin to crumble, small pieces at first, twigs and stones and pieces of organic matter that verge on being recognisable as once human. Then something cracks in your mind. You did not know you still had a soul, but it nevertheless soars upward into a cold night. Below you, the intruder kicks apart the last remnants of your physical form, crushing them into dead leaves and fragrant earth. He does not look up as your last conscious thought fades away. Your final whisper goes unheard. Make one last audio log. Fuck. So good. Okay, so what happened? We saw them, and we chased them, and we were going to lure them to our home, but they defeated us. Okay. I see you, little one. I see your footprints. You run from me, like they always run from me, but I will follow. I will take you home, and I will make you mine. I see you now, up ahead, through the trees, standing still, standing silent, unaware. And I step forward to meet you. And then nothing, because the ritual happens, and we know what happens, and we just read it. After, take a deep breath, because you can, can't you? You're still here. You may be changed by what happened on this night, but you're still here. Reach down into the earth and find comfort in the inevitability of this transformation. Whatever else, you can rest now. The story of you will live on, a whispered campfire tale, a warning to a traveller, a strange tableau will uncover deep within forgotten woods. With an inhale and an exhale, this existence ends, and perhaps begins again. That's so good. Alright, I'm going to turn the music off for a second. So, one thing I'm curious about, right? Firstly, holy shit, Alex. I don't know if Alex is watching this or what, or if Alex will ever see this, but the writing in this game is just fucking incredible. It's so moody, and I'm a little annoyed at myself that my role playing isn't good enough to do this justice. I think if someone who's a really good role player recorded an audio log of this, it would be fucking fantastic. So some things I want to look at. The Wretched says for a shorter game, you can set up one of the aces to place your tokens on to recover the beacon. And that's what the tokens are for. And for those of you, so Holy Crow Batman, you said you're new to Wretched and Alone games. So one of the things with Wretched and Alone, my intention of it is that it's all about the rules as an unreliable narrator. So even though you're spending the game trying to escape, like trying to fix your beacon, it's physically impossible for that to happen. The tower will fall before the beacon comes out, or you'll draw 4 kings, which are the alien on the Wretched, chasing you, and you'll die to the alien. No, we didn't interact with either of those mechanics in this, so I'm just gonna. There's some spoilers gonna happen for this game now, but I'm just gonna look at the Oracle and see what Alex did with these cards. So Alex didn't use the same king mechanic. There's no failure mechanism there. Oh wait, yes they did. A bloodied knife lies discarded on the bank of a stream. You have no need of such an object, and its presence is baffling. How do you put it out of your mind? Do not discard this card. If it is the 4th king you have pulled, dawn has come. Your ancient form breaks down as its harsh light pierces through you, mingling with the soil to become nothing more than the hazy memory of a violent nightmare. Your final whisper dies on the wind before it can reach the intruder's ears. Fuck me, that's so good. So yes, kings are the coming of the dawn, and we didn't interact with that, but that's really good. That's really moody and thematic. And here's the aces. Here's the ace of spades for Alex. Cool. The whispering in your mind rises to a shriek, and the flood of ancient power burns your sap-filled veins. Their rage has given you a power far beyond anything you have tasted in many centuries. Do not discard this card. Place it to the side and place your 10 tokens on it. At the end of each audio log, roll your dice on a result of 1. I think in the Wretched it was a 6, which makes absolutely no difference. Remove a token. Once all tokens are removed from the card, you burst forth into a clearing to find the intruder breathing heavily, bloodied and exhausted, scratching symbols in the dirt. Make a final pull from the tower. If the tower stands, you surge toward the intruder, and your many-jointed, claw-tipped hands wrap tight about them. Your ancient blood thrums heavy in your skull, loud enough to drown out the scream that rips from their throat as the promise of dawn, of life, is torn away by a multitude of teeth. You are not hungry anymore, and eternity stretches before you once again. You have won. Do not make a final audio log, for there is no one to speak to anymore. Fuck me, this is good. Cool. So yeah, a lot of the games in the Wretched Jam have kind of played with the mechanics, and done kind of really interesting things with them. Alex hasn't done that. Alex has written a straight up Wretched and Alone game, and I love it. It's so good. This is the first one I've played. One of the criticisms I've seen of Wretched and Alone is that the tower falls and that's it. It's game over. It's just done, and it's kind of anticlimactic. And I do see what people mean by that. That moment as the tower was falling, I was like so hopeful that it was going to steady itself. And the rise and tension of a Jenga tower is just fantastic. And like, if you've played Dread, you know that. So I can't take any credit for this mechanic. I think that's a really good game, and I think you should definitely go and buy it. I'm going to drop another link in the chat. VLX Cat. I'm such a amateur streamer. I should have all this set up. Yeah, it's a link to Before the Dawn. I really enjoyed that. There's like, so the Wretched Jam is going on still at the moment. There is no one to speak to anymore. It's chilling, isn't it? Oh, did Alex put anything on the back page? Just Finn. Fan. I love just the look of it. It's so minimal. I want this in print. So good. Yeah, you're right. That is chilling. So the Wretched Jam's still going on for another week. I extended it yesterday or the day before. The SRD, the rules for Wretched and Alone games, are free. Go and pick them up on itch.io, and you can make your own Wretched and Alone game. They're really simple. I wrote the Wretched. first off, and go alone, and they're really quick to write. Um, and yeah, there's like 65 games using this system in the jam at the moment, and I know there's more to come. I'm gonna play as many of them as I possibly can. Probably not on stream because I get super self-conscious doing it. Um, but that one is a particularly good one. I recommend you check it out. What I'm gonna do, because obviously they're quite short, like I've played that in half an hour or so. Um, I'm not gonna play another Wretched alone game because it just gets. I can see that it would get a little samey. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have a quick break, and then I'm gonna play the Artefact Mousehole Press, which is a story game for one player, um, where you basically write the history of a magic item of some kind. Um, and I really like it. It'll be the first time I've played it, so there'll be some figuring out how it works, and it'll be a bit more chill than that. But I'm going to take a quick break, clear my Jenga tower away, and then I'm going to be back to do that. So stick around. That's me on screen still. I'm going to turn my audio off, and you get to just watch me clean stuff. Okay. Holy crow, Batman, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. So, sorry about the noise here. I'm going to eat a little bit of fudge. I got bought a load of fudge for my birthday by work, so I'm slowly making my way through it. Okay, so choking myself. So what I'm going to play now, I don't know how this is going to go. How did I set myself up for this? So, should I get the PDF up on screen for this as well? I feel like I should get the PDF up on screen for this so that you can see what I'm seeing, even though I've got the book here. So this is going to be super awkward while I set this up, but whatever. Bear with me, please. Do you know what? I'm not going to mess around with it. I'm sorry. I'm just going to have to make do. So this is... I'm going to play the Artefact. Let me find a link to it for you. Oh, cool. Hi, Ozzy. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Fuck, Alex's writing is so good. I don't really know what else to say about it. I really enjoyed that. And I think if you're playing that alone, like just you, I think that would be incredible. So I'm going to play... Here's the Artefact by Mousehole Press, which is really, really a really pretty book, honestly. I would really like to get the PDF up on screen for you. My mic is quite low. Could I turn it up a bit? Of course. How's that for you? It can't go much higher, to be honest. Maybe it's a bit far away from me. Is that any better for you? We'll see. So, what was I saying? I'll tell you a little bit about this game. Better. Awesome. That's good. So I'll just read you what in fact, what I can do. You should be able to see this, right? Yeah, there we go. So this is the Artefact. A game of legendary items and transient heroes. And in fact, I could just... I own it, obviously. I don't have it on itch, so I can't just download it from here. That's a pain. Anyway, Artefact is a story game for one player designed for contemplative solo play. In the classic dungeon crawl, you follow the lives of adventurers as they overcome challenges to gain prestige and, most importantly, magical treasures. But what were those treasures doing before the adventurers came along? How many eons have passed in silent darkness since they were last used? Artefact shifts the focus to the perspective of a single magical item and its history as it passes through the hands of many different keepers. You'll feel the weight of time as the item is lost or abandoned again and again, the dust and decay piling around it until it's found again by someone new. It's a great way to spend an hour, sketching, world building and storytelling in your own company. It's also a fantastic way to generate really unique items for tabletop games like D&D, with detailed histories far more vivid than any you'd typically find in a compendium. And that's true. I've played this very briefly, kind of epistolary form, passing it back and forth between myself and a friend. We only played a couple of rounds of it, but I really enjoyed it. One thing the game asks you to do is to draw, which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to type because I'm not an artist. Let me see if this was in the big bundle. You know, the big itch.io bundle for racial justice and equality, because if it was, then we can download it and have the... Okay. let me see if I've got it on my computer to bring it up. I think I have. Yes, I think I do. So, that didn't work. Right, I have got that, so let me see if I can figure out a way, because if I can open that in Chrome, then, you know, this will make life much easier, so bear with me a second. Is there a way to open this? I'm so shit at technology. I'm trying to figure out a way to open a PDF in Chrome and struggling. I'm so inept. 34 years old and I can't use a computer. Open with Google Chrome. There we go. Cool. Excellent. So, we have Artefact now. So, I guess we'll just go through and start playing it and figure out how it works. And I've got the book in front of me, which helps. So, drag and drop. I tried to drag and drop, it didn't work, but we figured it out. So let's have a look. You rest, fallen or discarded in the dirt. This game, by the way, was one of the inspirations for Go Alone, my Wretched and Alone game about being a sentient magical item. So, I should also pop a little tweet out, shouldn't I, about what I'm doing now. Now playing I know this is thrilling to watch, I'm sorry. Over on Twitch. Come say hello. // Right, so this is going to be a much kind of slower, more contemplative game than Before the Dawn. And that's kind of what I want. I was going to sit and do a bit of writing and, you know, make something up together. So you rest, fallen or discarded in the dirt, but your body is not flesh and you are not mortal, so you wait. Seasons pass in flashes, cold following heat, rain following drought, death following birth, until one day your wait is over. Someone lifts you from the detritus, inspecting you, feeling your weight in their hands. They decide to keep you, becoming your keeper. Through them you experience the world, you see them undertake great quests, or perhaps commit atrocious sins, all with your aid. You almost forget the long time spent in the dark until inevitably you return and rest, fallen or discarded in the dirt. You do not know how long you will wait for someone new to arrive. So, give me a second and explore my nose. Full of hay fever at the moment. So, yeah, this was a big influence on Go Alone, whereas in the Artefact you tell the story of this item over generations and eons as it passes from hand to hand of new keepers, and it changes and develops quirks of personality and new abilities and things. Go Alone, I focused down on like one bearer and like told the story of your journey with one person, but very much influenced by this. So, and yeah, same, inspired by The Skeletons by Jason Morningstar, which is a fantastic game where you play the skeletons guarding an ancient dungeon, and every now and then intruders come into the dungeon and you have to wake and do your job. It's so good. Anyway, how to play. I love the artwork in this book. The book itself is really, really like lovely to touch as well. It's really nice quality paper. It's a nice yellow, nice cream colour paper. It's really nice. So, what you need to play before you start, you need an hour or two, a quiet place to play, ideally one that can be darkened. I can't really darken this room while I'm streaming, but whatever. A journal, index cards, or sheets of paper to write and draw on, or a fresh sheet a fresh set of printed sheets from the play kit, I'm using Google Docs. Yeah, Skeletons is so good. I want to play a proper game of it because it's not really one you can play on your own. I'd love to play it properly. I've only read it and kind of experimented with it. Art materials or writing implements, I'm not going to use them. I'm not going to draw. A way to play the soundtrack, I have got the soundtrack here. So you use the soundtrack. The game asks you to wait in between ages and you play the soundtrack. Judd K, thank you for the follow. And a way to track time if not using the soundtrack, which we are. So this game is designed to be played alone, mitigating many of the consent issues associated with playing games together. However, as an intentionally solitary, somewhat melancholy experience, it may not be the best thing to play when struggling with feelings of loneliness, which is fair enough. I think all games, like this is something I missed in the original version of the Wretched, which I'm correcting if I do a late, like I'm going to correct it in the PDF, and if I do another print run, it'll be corrected in that. Even solo games need safety warnings in them. So, game concept. This game is about magical items, tools with incredible powers, and a sentience that grows as you play. Items do not die, but can be tarnished, broken, buried, or otherwise lost and forgotten. An item cannot act alone. A keeper must seize it. Only then can it travel around, seeing wondrous places and having grand adventures. Its agency is limited, shackled to its keeper, but it can influence its situation through magic, communication, and force of will. Writing the story of each keeper, consider how they obtained the item, how they treat it, what they achieve with it, and how it changes them and their destiny. Time and rest. Magical items outlive even the most venerable keepers. Through death, bestowal, or carelessness, a keeper relinquishes the item and your stint with them ends. The sun turns, seasons pass, and flesh and blood return to the earth. The item is at rest, inert and waiting. You always choose how much time passes while you wait. Eventually, a new keeper will arrive. Traits are characteristics describing a magical item. See, the first time I played the Artefact, I got really lost because when I read a rulebook, I want to get straight into how to play, and the game starts explaining all these concepts, and my brain just can't latch on to what these concepts are out of context. But I'm just going to read through it in order anyway, and we'll figure it out as we go. Especially because I've played it a little bit now. So, traits are characteristics describing a magical item. They might be physical or magical properties or facets of its developing personality. Each artifact has a list of sensible traits for that archetype, but always feel free to make up your own. Don't worry about a trait's precise definition, they mean what you want them to. And playing the game, the item evolves and develops, shaped by its experiences, the time passing, and the keepers who wield it. At various points you are asked to change something about the item. This usually means adding, removing, or modifying a trait, a detail about the physical appearance of your item, a detail about something in your world, a name, a faction, etc., a response to one of your artifact questions. A particularly momentous change may make it sensible to do several of those things at once. You can also make a change whenever you feel it's appropriate, even if you are not explicitly prompted. So yeah, the game is giving you permission to play it however you want to play it, which is cool, because once you start playing these games, your brain does sometimes take off and go like, oh, what if I do this and this and this? And sometimes if the game hasn't given you permission to do that, you can feel a bit hindered by it. So the game is played in acts. 3 acts form your item's story as your game progresses. Each act has its own set of keepers and time options to choose from. Have I got the play sheets? Let me just have a quick look here. Mainly to show you Artefact play kit. Yeah, I have got them actually. I wonder if I can open them in Chrome. Bear with me again. I don't know if it'll be form fillable in Chrome, and I'm not going to start messing about changing my sources in OBS and everything. It is form fillable in Chrome, that's cool. So we may not actually need to use Google Docs. We could just use one of these sheets, but we'll see. So the game takes place over 3 acts, forming your item's story as your game progresses. Each has its own set of keepers and time options to choose from. After choosing a keeper, you complete a series of steps to tell their story and explore the ways your item might change from the experience. You can use these steps to tell a full, detailed story or keep things short with a brief outline of events. First, you'll describe the keeper, providing their name and a few striking details. Think about how they acquired the item. Was it given to them, or did they find it, discarded, or unguarded? Then answer the 2 questions or prompts listed under the keeper's heading. Then choose a memorable event or deed defining your item's time with the keeper. If they achieve great things together, choose from victories and valour. If the item was slighted or misused, choose from neglect and mischief. As your item learns from experiences, you may answer one of your artifact questions. Finally, think about how the keeper ends their time with your item. Where and how do they lose or relinquish it? As you await the next keeper to claim your item, you'll rest in darkness or with your eyes closed. The act tells you what to think about while you wait. You can use the ambient soundtrack or wait in silence with a timer listening to the sounds around you. Don't worry if your mind wanders while waiting, your item's mind wanders too. Eventually the silence breaks and a new keeper appears. Once you've completed your rest, you might be asked to choose an option from a table representing time passing. If you want to explore or change the world around your item, choose from shifts and currents. If you want to change your item, choose from dust and rust. At this point, stop to consider if you might like to take a break. If you're writing a lot of detail for each keeper, consider playing the game over a few shorter sessions than one long one. We're just going to go as long as I need to, or until I get tired, or, whatever. So first thing to do is to choose an artifact to create. Each is an archetype of a sentient magical item. They have thoughts and desires and can communicate directly or otherwise with their keepers. So we can choose from the weapon, a tool of war, a blade, axe, or something stranger, a shield, a bulwark of protection from towering scutter, I don't even know how you say that word, deft bucklers. I kind of want to be an instrument just because it's me. Last time I played it, we played as the footwear, which was not a choice I would ever have picked, and that's kind of fun. It's nice to do sometimes, to go outside your comfort zone. The instrument is definitely within my comfort zone. Jewellery, charms and trinkets, small but potent, and I like the idea of the deck as well, a collection of worn cards, an oracle or something stranger. That's kind of cool. What do you all think? I'm leaning towards the deck or the instrument. What do we think in chat? I might grab the play kit and have a look. I mean, I think they all basically say the same things, don't they? Instrument. 1 vote for instrument. Cool, let's do that then. So the instrument on page 14. Why isn't this PDF hyperlinked? Come on. After choosing an artifact, answer the opening questions about your item's creation. Describe the person who made the item and add 3 traits to describe its starting properties. Draw the item, that's not going to happen. Making your sketch large enough to easily record changes as you play. Each artifact has different suggestions for details you can add, but go with whatever inspires you. Your drawing is primarily a tool for visual reference, not art. You can always create a more artistic version when the game is over. I'm not gonna draw. So let's have a look. The instrument. I'm glad that I've got the book to hand as well. So where are the opening questions? This is the bit I struggled with. I guess the opening questions are: describe the exotic woods and fibres and the artisan, their materials and their workshop. So, kind of instrument we're going to be. I kind of like the idea of us being a drum, because I think the obvious choice is something like a lute or a trumpet or something like that. But I think we'll go with a drum. So, you were carved out of exotic woods and fibres by a renowned artisan. Describe them, their materials and their workshop. kind of wish, because the game just throws you in here. Does it have a section on? So, yeah, there's a section on keepers. I don't know whether to... This is where I get stuck, you see, right at the beginning. Do we pick a keeper now, or do we just make something up initially and then pick a keeper? Yeah, so we just make something up about who made us. So who made... We're going to be a drum. Who made this drum? And who was it created for? The drum was crafted. Who was it made for? I think this was made for some kind of conquering warlord, as a way to signal or herald his arrival. It's like he'd conquered, he'd came, he'd seen, he'd conquered, and now this instrument, this drum, would be kind of played or struck to herald his coming around the lands. How do we feel about that? I don't know how to say that name. Jenna Sicartha, thank you for the follow. Do we want to go with a drum? Yeah, let's just start making shit up, alright? Carved out of ancient tear wood. We don't even know what that is. And skinned with the hide of a... Ooh, what animal? I mean, the skin of the drum could be dragon skin if we want to go pure fantasy, you know? But let's pick something a bit less usual than... Oh, let's go really dark with it, okay? Let's... Ancient tear wood and skin... with a skin made from stretched human flesh, tanned and dried. Okay, so there's no word wrap in this PDF, so we're just going to do it in here as I intended. Why didn't that copy? Right, there we go. Hey, how you doing? Oh God, no pressure then. So this is Mr. Mousehole Press himself who wrote this game, Mr. Jack Harrison. I hope I do this game justice for you. No pressure. Carved out of ancient tear with a skin made from stretched human flesh, tanned and dried, and still bearing the tattoos of the one who proffered his skin to the Emperor's purpose. So this drum, the skin of this drum was actually given in sacrifice willingly by someone, is what we're going to say. It wasn't taken by force. Who made it? Do we even know who made it? I mean, I know the game asks us to say who made it. A renowned artisan, I guess we do need to know. I can't even remember what the name for someone who makes a drum is. Name for a person who makes drums. Like, I know a luthier is a guitar. The common term is drum maker. Cool. That answers that question then. Drum maker was a thing. This is like pulling teeth trying to figure this bit out. That's not a fault of the game, that's a fault of me for not having enough coffee in me. Okay. The drum was crafted by the bards of the... No. You can see me second guessing myself every time I write something. Before I write, let's just figure out who made this drum, right? It was made for an emperor, made out of ancient tear wood, whatever that is, and the skin was given in sacrifice, so making it was probably quite ritualistic, right? The shell was pre-carved and the skin was taken during a ritual, right? And probably magically dried and stretched rather than being slowly dried out and tanned over the course of weeks, right? So the crafting of the drum was a massive joint effort between the storied bards of the College of Mythweaver. No, we're not going to call them bards, we're going to call them Mythweavers. Royal Carpenters and the Blood Mages, loyal to the Empire from birth until death. The drum was created in a long, arduous ritual to mark the end of the wars that had ravaged the Empire. There we go, that'll do, right? So, Jack, I hope you don't mind that I've got the PDF up. Let me know if you want me to take it down, because I've got the book here. I just thought it'd help for everyone to be able to see it. So for the rest of this game, you inhabit your item and perceive the world through its strange, inhuman senses. Oh wait, hang on. We need to pick 3 traits, don't we? So... Cool, thank you. So, the instrument. Where are traits? Where would I find traits? Each artifact has a list of sensible traits for that archetype. Cool, so it'll just be in the under the instrument. Suggested traits: beguiling, cacophonous, reviving, splitting, soothing, sustaining, summoning, remembering, mathematical, enlightening, sardonic, cheeky, curious, devious, sublime. Cool, alright. So we'll go traits, and we're picking 3 traits to begin with. I think summoning is a good one, since we're using a drum. Reviving I like. And... ooh, mathematical. I like splitting. I don't know what it means in this purpose, but that's what we're going to go with. So there it's starting properties. For the rest of this game, you inhabit your item and perceive the world through its strange, inhuman senses. When questions in the game refer to you, they mean your item and its evolving sentience. This item is your character for the rest of the game. When you've completed the instructions for your chosen artifact and are ready to play, empty your hands, close your eyes and take a moment to breathe. You'll begin by turning to the first act, newly forged. So I think we're good to go, right? Because the next thing to do is to pick a keeper. So choose the first person to take ownership of your first keeper. You'll begin by turning to the first act, newly forged. My computer's going so slowly. Choose a keeper from below and resolve them following the process on page 4, summarised here. Describe the keeper and your acquisition. Well, let's pick a keeper first. You should be able to click on the little numbers to jump around. Fantastic. I think, oh yeah. I think because I've opened it in Chrome, not Adobe, my computer's been like, no, that's not happening. So we're just going to have to cope with me scrolling. So let's pick the first keeper, right? We've got a folk hero, a young noble, a rogue without master, or a revolutionary leader. They're inspiring. I'm going to go with revolutionary leader, right? They're inspiring, rebellious, and driven. Describe the unjust social order they wish to overthrow. How did you help them achieve their first major victory? Cool. So, first keeper. We're picking a revolutionary leader, right? So, the first thing we do is describe them and how they got us. So, we're going to say that the empire crumbled centuries ago, and the drum was kept as a relic and stored in a museum. So, the empire crumbled centuries ago. The drum, symbol of the emperor's power, was put on display in a museum in the city. We won't try and come up with a name for the city. At the centre of this new world. A constant reminder of what had come before and the past that the new order wished never to return to. What is our revolution? What is our keeper going to be called? Then the keeper came a charismatic youth who pulled himself up the slums to fight the power, overthrow the leaders of this new world. With his growing army, he sacked the city, marching on the seats of power and the museum to seize the drum. I can't type today. With the instrument in hand, he struck up ancient rhythm. We're going to use one of the abilities, summoning the fury of the dead emperor and using it to bring down the walls of the city. That'll do, right? So, answer the keeper's questions, which I think we've done. Choose one from tables 29 or 30. So let me remind myself what we're doing here. Why is everything freezing on me? Okay, okay. First you describe the keeper, then answer the 2 questions. It's fine, don't worry. Not your fault. My computer being shit. It won't even scroll through the PDF. Right. Answer the 2 questions or prompts listed on the keeper's heading. Done. Then choose a memorable event or deed defining your item's time with the keeper. If they achieve great things together, choose from victories and valour. If the item was slighted or misused, choose from neglect and mischief. Alright, I think the first keeper is going to be, they're going to achieve great things together. We're going to do victories and valour. Page 29. I'm going to leave the structure open here because I think that's more helpful for me at the minute, and I'll flick back and forth through this. So, no, do you know what? I'll just flip back and forth. Stop second guessing yourself, Chris. Here we go. Victories and valour. Choose an option from below, answer questions, and change something as you grow notorious, proud, or legendary. So, I've already forgotten what I just read. My memory's terrible. Choose a memorable event or deed defining your item's time with the keeper. Cool. So, memorable event or deed. A stronghold of great importance was attacked by a dreadful, monstrous horde. How did you help your keeper drive off the fearsome assailants? Your keeper defeated their sworn bitter rival in a duel. A great warrior was trapped in an impossibly tall tower by an evil sorcerer. Why did your keeper owe them their life, and how did you help free them? I like that one. A long-standing feud between 2 prominent factions was resolved. A mythical beast or immortal guardian stood watch over an ancient treasure. Oh, your keeper uncovered an insidious conspiracy in their people's ruling class. I think we're going to go with a great warrior was trapped in an impossibly tall tower by an evil sorcerer. Why did your keeper owe them their life, and how did you help free them? So, when the leader, who we haven't named, but that's fine, when the keeper was rising from the slums and consolidating power, he was aided by a mighty warrior. She helped lead his burgeoning army against the oppressive forces of the city, assisting him as they cut a swath towards the seat of power where he would seize the artifact. In the years that passed, they parted ways, and as she set off on her adventures, she was captured by who did we say it was? An evil sorcerer who saw her as a threat and sealed her away in an enormous tower where time was frozen still. She lay in stasis, unable to age or move or call for help. And when the keeper learned of this, he set off seeking out the tower. Seeing no way to enter or scale the building, he struck the drum and split the stone in two. As the tower collapsed and crumbled, The spell freezing time was shattered and the warrior was revived. We've used all 3 traits right now already. I really enjoy this game. It's really satisfying to just sit and write something and have some way to kind of guide it, even though I feel like a lot of the time I'm getting it wrong, like structurally, just because I'm not great at following instructions, which is not a great trait for a game designer to have, really, but there we go. As your item learns from experiences, you may answer one of your artifact questions. So what are our artifact questions here? The instrument. Over time, you gain a name or honorific. What is it and why? How do you come to think of your keepers as spirited collaborators, heartless exploiters, or something else? Of all the places you've seen in your travels, I should scroll up so that you can see this. It's just a slow process of scrolling. Come on, little PC, you can do this. There we go. You were once played to impress someone your keeper was madly in love with. I don't think anyone's impressed by a snare drum. You are immortal, you do not grow old. What preoccupation of the keepers is most strange to you as one that cannot die? I mean, that's gold, right? I'm a drum. Why do all these keepers keep trying to amass chunks of metal and gold? I've just realised that I really want at some point for the drum to start remembering the life of the person whose skin it wears. I'll hang on to that. Yeah, so as time passed and each keeper used the artifact to amass power, I can't spell, it's amass, yeah, that's right, power and wealth, the drum couldn't help but wonder, what do all these people want with these chunks of metal and gold, these trinkets and items that serve no purpose other than shining in the light? Like, why do people collect this shit? You can't take it with you. Okay. Consider how the keeper loses you. I mean, he's a revolutionary leader, right? He's born in blood, he's going to die in blood. So, much like the emperor who started it all, and the what's the word I'm looking for? Oppressive rulers who the keeper initially overthrew. The keeper was never satisfied with the power and influence. Thank you for the follow, Jack. I appreciate it. He had amassed. No empire is ever big enough to satisfy the ego of the one who rules it. So the keeper began to expand and invade, and with the drum at his side and reunited with the mighty warrior, he marched at the head of the battle lines, convinced that he was unstoppable. He was not unstoppable He died broken and afraid on the field of battle, where the drum lay in the dirt for some time. So then we move on to time newly forged. Choose the amount of time you must wait until your next keeper arrives. Follow the chosen options instructions. Okay, so he was dropped on the field of battle, right? It's a massive battle. People are going to be picking over that site, and the place where this leader of this army died is going to draw attention. So I think we only sit here for a day. So we're going to do this properly, right? We're going to do this properly. We're going to go to a day, and we're going to listen to the soundtrack. Okay, I really like the soundtrack to this game, by the way. I really, really like it. After completing your rest, choose a new keeper. If you have already chosen 2 keepers from this act, move on to 2, A Time of Glory. So, we're going to pick another keeper from Newly Forged. So, I think the person who comes and plucks us from the dirt on the field of battle is probably a young noble, right? Someone who was fighting on the other side. They are daring, charisma. Oh no, they are wealthy, educated, and fashionable. Describe the landed family they are descended from. Okay, so the second keeper, a young noble. Right. Describe the landed family they are descended from. I feel like I need to start giving people names. Let's fantasy name generator. We've all used this site, right? Where's the big old list? Oh, good God. Fuck it, Donjon. They're not great names. Fantasy setting? Oh no. Helix Goodver. There we go. Helix Goodver was descended from an ancient line who had fought the original emperor and been overthrown. Not overthrown. Ultimately seen the futility of that fight. To preserve their line, they swore allegiance to the Empire and served in his court, but secretly the Goodwit family passed down the knowledge. That's not... What am I trying to say? Unknown to the Emperor, the Goodwit family always worked against him from the shadows, and they had a hand in the demise of the Empire. this history has been passed. I'm doing that thing that people do on TV where they type and talk at the same time, and whenever I see it happen, I always say nobody types and talks at the same time, but you have to when you're streaming. It's weird. This history has been passed down the family line for centuries. Never written. That would be foolhardy. Foolhardy? Foolish. Come on, Chris. But always known. And as these stories have mutated and been told and changed ever so slightly, the family has come to believe that it is their sacred duty to always stand against tyrants and those who would wrap the entire world in their influence. So basically, they're revolutionary socialists, right? How were you used in the nobles' cutthroat politics? So, Hylex fought against the first keeper as he attempted to extend his influence, and upon his death searched the battlefield for his body, where he found the drum. Oh god, my arse is going numb on this drum stool. I'm sitting on a drum stool. Found the drum. Taking it, he returned home to the more gentle but no less dangerous world of court politics. Oh god. How are you using the nobles' cutthroat politics? With the drum in hand, he was able to display that the new empire had fallen and revealed his family's role in the dismantlement's not a word, of the ancient empire. With the power of the drum, began to seize power and influence of his own, becoming that which his own family had always opposed. Because that's what happens when people seize power, isn't it? So we then need to ask, how were we put to use? And last time we did victories and valor, but this time it's going to be neglect and mischief, right? So we're scrolling down to page 30. Nope, we've gone too far. Okay. Treacherous acts, tragic loss, and demeaning misuse. Choose an option from below, answer questions, and change something as you become hardened, jaded, or vindictive. So, shall we give ourselves a new trait? Oh, a detail about the physical appearance of the item. So, the skin of the drum already bearing the tattoos of the one who sacrificed his own flesh for the crafting of the artifact. Cannot spell words today. Now begins to change. New markings appear on the surface. Symbols of the to represent those who wielded the drum and the sticky ends that they came to. I don't know how this works, but it's magic. I'm just going to blow my nose again. Hay fever. Oh god, okay. Right. So, we've changed the detail about the physical appearance of the item, and now we need to answer one of these neglect and mischief questions. You were locked in a vault while poorly made counterfeits were sold to hoodwinked adventurers. What fault in the design made these copies fail at a crucial moment? I love that. Thrown carelessly atop a huge heap of treasure. There was another sentient item within the hoard. What did you learn from this other intelligence, and did you get along? Oh my god, that's amazing. Put on display to decorate a wall. That is so. Jack, I was saying earlier, this game's one of the things that inspired Go Alone, my Wretched Alone game, and all the goal of that game is to be put on display and decorate a wall. What should we go with? Oh, right, cool. I know what we're going to do. You were broken, split, or torn into two pieces by your keeper intentionally or otherwise. How did this happen, and how were you made whole again? Cool. Much so, with power in hand, the keeper... Hylex retired to sit and count his fortune, allowing those below him to do the business of overseeing his domain. From time to time, he would strike at the drum, but the man had no musical talent and no sense of rhythm, and he soon grew bored. The drum ceased to be an instrument to him, and instead became an outlet for his impotent rage. In one particularly in a words. It's my problem. I always want everything I write to feel like a finished draft. I won't allow myself to write something I'm not happy with, and I need to get over that. During an episode of particular anger, particularly heightened anger, Helix struck the drum with such force that he split the skin in two. Seeing that it was broken and having no further need for the magics and power of the instrument, he discarded it, casting it into a vault deep beneath his citadel, where it would be forgotten. However, the magics that had forged the drum lay latent in the what's the word I'm looking for? When the skin that was sacrificed to make the drum, in the skin that was gifted to the artifact, and life still remained there. The natural urge of skin is to knit and heal of human skin is what it did over the course of long decades, forgotten in the dark. That's awesome, I really like that. So, we've just decided that it's long decades, so we rest for a decade. So, let's do that. Okay, so now we move forward to Act 2, A Time of Glory. Jack, if you're still here, that music is so good. I actually listened to the whole soundtrack on my walk home from work the other day because I like it that much. So, we picked the amount of time that we waited until the next keeper arrived, right? Right, sorry. I'm looking on the wrong page. I want to be looking at keepers. Choose a keeper from below and resolve them following the process on page 4. So, same as we've been doing. He did do a great job. You absolutely should go buy it. I'll tell you what, let me drop you a link in chat here. It's so good. Sorry, there's someone outside cleaning my window and the window's open. It's a little awkward. Anyway, so right, so we can either pick from a righteous champion, an all-conquering warlord, a bandit king, or a monster hunter. So the drum is sitting in a vault beneath the citadel. I mean, it makes sense to go with an all-conquering warlord, right? But the person this was made for was a warlord. The first keeper became a warlord, and then this last keeper ruled an empire as well. I'm just repeating the same shit if I go for an all-conquering warlord, right? I need to do something a bit more interesting. So, let's go with a monster hunter, right? They are sharp, fearless, and impossibly strong. So, third keeper, monster hunter. So, how was it acquired? Right. So when Helix died, the Empire. Right. Helix had left the Empire in the hands of his advisors, men of greed and pride who saw an opportunity to enrich themselves. They embezzled, that's how you spell it, and stole. And by the time Helix died and the new ruler came to his seat, the Empire, I'm just going to keep calling it an empire even though it's probably not, the Empire was riddled with debt in an attempt to settle up with their creditors. The vaults beneath the citadel were emptied and auctioned off. The drum, long forgotten, was sold in a job lot of old instruments to a guild of instruments and entered general circulation. It eventually came to, I wanted to say the Guild of Calamitous Intent, but that's from Storage Wars! Yeah. Guild of Calamitous Intent is from Venture Brothers, right? I can't use that. Into the possession of, what should we call this guild? What do we call this highly competitive Monster Hunter guild? God, I'm so bad at names. A guild of... Right. Also the worst group of villains ever. Hunters who called themselves the... I thought I could delay the inevitable by just typing words, but I can't. Okay. Monster Hunter Guild Name Generator. Let's see. Oh. Guild Name Generator. I use random generators a lot. Depraved Nightmare. Shimmer Maggots. Black Lust is kind of cool. Arm Flags. Arm Flags. Encircling Heal, that's weird. The Hallow Guards. Let's go with the Hallow Guards. Guards there. Remit was to guard the Wilderlands. Guard the shifting border to the... I don't want to say the Fae, like lands of the Fae. Thanks, man. I'm really enjoying playing it. Thank you for writing it, and thank you for sending me a copy of it as well. Like, yeah. Enjoy some time with your kid. So, yeah, I backed, for the rest of you, I backed the Artefact on Kickstarter. which is how I got the new edition. But Jack was kind enough to swap me a copy of the Wretched for a copy of the old edition of the Artefact as well. I haven't had a chance to look through it yet and see what the differences are. I tell you what though, I really like the illustrations in the old edition. The new edition's gorgeous, but this is the first time I've opened the old one, and I really, really dig the illustrations in it. Yeah, anyway. Ooh, I really appreciate when people say what they've typeset it in. I'm such a nerd for that stuff. Anyway, put that away. Back to playing the game, right? So, I came into the possession of a guild of monster hunters who call themselves the Hallow Guards. So I want them to be guarding. So whatever city we're in, I don't want there to be like an unknown wilderness nearby. I want there to be like a rift to something else. You know, like Area X in Annihilation. That kind of weird, twisted, unknowable place full of unknowable things, right? I'm just going to give this a little retoot. So we'll call that the Hallow, because of the Hallow Guards. On the outskirts of the city is a rift to a place of otherness where geography and biology do not function as expected. This twisted, borderless location is known as the Hallow. The Hallow Guards do not exist to defend the city from the creatures of the Hallow. Those things stay within its... I've called it a borderless location, but so we'll get rid of the word border. This twisted, unknowable location. Those things stay within its borders and cannot survive in the real world for long, so they pose no threat to civilization. The Hallow Guards task themselves with venturing into the Hallow to see how deep they can get and what they can bring back. There we go. How are you used to defeat a legendary beast? A Hallow Guard named, let's have a look, Monster Hunter Name Generator. A Bounty Hunter Name Generator will do. Dusk, named Dusk, found herself drawn to the drum and took it with her on an expedition into the Hallow. She and her party travelled deep into the other lands, pushing on for nearly 2 weeks, going deeper than anyone before them and finding themselves in lands that nobody had ever set foot in. There they encountered an enormous creature made of teeth, eyes that twisted and shifted in ways that defied reality, seeming to slide between dimensions and shift time itself, because why not? As her companions fell to the beast, Dusk struck the drum in a moment of desperation. What were our features again? Traits. Splitting. As the crack of the drum skin rang out through the thick, hot air of the Hallow, amplified and twisted. Sound lashed out like a blade, splitting the beast in two and allowing Dusk to flee with her life. Cool, so now we choose from one of the tables again, right? So I think Dusk is going to be a good keeper, right? So we're going to go victories and valor again. Choose option below, answer questions and change something as you grow notorious, proud or legendary. So, a stronghold of great importance was attacked by a dreadful monstrous horde. How did you help your keeper drive off the fearsome assailants? Let's go with that. Unfortunately, the creature that Dusk and the drum had slain was somehow linked to the power that held creatures in the Hallow in place. With it dead, so let's change, stay within its borders. Let's get rid of that. With it dead, other inhabitants of the Hallow were now free to enter the real world, and they chased Dusk back to the city. The horde descended on the walls, and everyone able to wield a blade was summoned to repel them. Having seen the magic of the drum once, Dusk poured her mind and spirit into the artifact and attempt to both learn what it was capable of, enhance its abilities with her own essence. High up on the walls with her fellow Hallow guards around her, she struck up a driving beat on the drum and lay waste to the horde with the magic that she summoned. And that's pretty good. Now we answer an artifact question. Do we? Is that what we do? Change something. So let's do an artifact question, right? We haven't done one for a while. Of all the places you've seen on your travels, one stands out and you long to return. Where is it and why? So that's one thing we could pick, or we could pick another trait. Or a detail about something in your world, a name, faction, etc. I mean, we've got the Hallow Guard, right? I think that's enough there. I don't... That artifact question I like, but I don't think it fits here. I think we'll use that a bit later. So let me just eat a bit of fudge. In fact, I'll do it as we wait. So... let's go back to Act 2 and see what we do next. Time. Right, so as you rest, think about the way of follow your chosen options and instructions, and sorry, I've got myself lost in what I'm supposed to be doing here. Think about how the keeper ends their time with your item, where and how do they lose or relinquish it. So, with the drum in hand, Dusk continued to venture into the Hallow, which now tried to actively repel invaders. She and her band of Hallow guards gained a reputation as experts in as the greatest. No, what am I trying to say? They go further and deeper than anyone, and you know, if you want to know about the Hallow, you go to Dusk and you speak to her, right? As the resident experts on the Hallow, they ventured deeper than anyone, recording details of creatures and strange sights that nobody else could lay claim to. Their adventures were numerous. The riches they gathered countless, and the tales that were told about them were scarcely believable. Unfortunately, all adventurers must come to an end either through retirement or death, and it was death that found Dusk, that came for Dusk. Nobody knew what became of her and her companions, only that they returned. They set off into the Hallow as normal and never returned. Cool, so now we're doing another rest, right? So Dusk has died in the Hallow, and I think it's like a solid century before someone comes for her, mainly because I want to choose on the Dust and Rust or Shifts and Currents tables, because we haven't looked at them yet. So yeah, it's going to be a century before anyone comes and finds us, so we're going to do that. And here we go. God, that music's so good. I am just going to go and fill up my water bottle, so, and then we'll come back to this, so just bear with me 1 second, okay? Okay, sorry about that. This so I don't have a chair. I have a drum stool, and if I sit on it for too long, it gets very uncomfortable. So I need to just get up and kind of stretch and walk around a little bit from time to time. So, okay, where was I? What were we doing? So we've rested for a century, right? And I'm picking from the choices that we had to choose from were Shifts and Currents or Dust and Rust, and what I'm going with is Dust and Rust. So, yeah, Muck and Murk, Tarnished Metal, and Slow Inevitable Erosion. So we've been dropped in the Hallow, right? And we sit here for a century. So choose an option from below, answer questions and change something as you grow wiser, unstable, or fade away. The one that I like is this. A sapling grows around you and with time becomes a mighty gnarled tree. How does your magic shape the tree, reflecting your inner nature? So, the drum sits alone in the Hallow for a century. Slowly, nature, the unnatural flora of the Hallow begin to claim it for their own. A sapling grows twisted and strange, and its bark is marked with symbols that resemble the tattoos on the skin of the drum. They shift and twist with time, playing out a slow drama that almost resembles the history of the various keepers of the drum. And the drum itself also changes. Roots and vines crawl across the brass ring that holds the skin to the shell, taking root in the wood and twisting themselves tight around the metal. The magic of the drum infuses itself into these tendrils, binding them to it and hardening them, preserving them for eternity on its body. So the drum is now like wrapped in vines, and that's pretty cool. So our next, we moved on to, we're still in Act 2, right? A Time of Glory. And I'm not going to do another keeper from A Time of Glory, right? We've only done one, a Monster Hunter. But the other options are a Righteous Champion, an All-Conquering Warlord, and a Bandit King. And I don't really like them as characters that would come into the Hallow. So we're actually just going to do one keeper, because we've also waited a century, right? So the Time of Glory has passed, and we're going to move into the Ruination, the final act. So where are we? Keepers, the Ruination. Choose a keeper from below and resolve them following the process on page 4. So we've got a pair of treasure seekers an archivist collector, a doomsday caller, or a foolhardy warrior? And I think the obvious answer is a pair of treasure seekers, because, alright, in a century what's happened? Maybe the Hallow Guard have slowly made inroads into the Hallow and started to... Maybe a war has been going on between the reality of the real world and the Hallow, and the border has been shifting and moving. And maybe in a century that's passed, the Hallow Guard have figured out things about the Hallow and how to control it and stop the spread of it. And so they've pushed it back and contained the borders, and it's smaller than it used to be and safer than it used to be. And so other adventurers venture in here now, right? So fourth keeper, a pair of treasure hunters. So a century passes and a war rages between the Hallow Guard and the magical energy of the Hallow itself. Over the decades, the Hallow Guard learn things about the nature of the Hallow, and they concoct magics to fight it and stop its spread. They push back its borders and push with an S, back its borders and tame parts of the land, so that the Hallow of the modern day is a pale reflection of the Hallow that once was. Now adventurers venture into it regularly, and it is known as a place where would-be heroes might be able to make a name for themselves. So, describe how these opportunistic, argumentative and short-sighted treasure seekers operate despite their mutual distrust. The Hallow also brings scavengers, people who do not seek adventure themselves, but rather seek to pick the bones of those who have gone before them and fallen along the way. This pair come to the Hallow. Their tempers short and frayed after long months of living rough, barely sleeping and barely eating, with only themselves and the lice for company. One bears a blade and a shield, the other rope, lanterns, endless tools, and a knack for disarming, a knack for finding traps and disarming them. We've got a fighter and a thief, basically. Their journey into the Hallow is not without incident. Usually they seek shelter beneath a young tree that bears strange markings. There they find the drum. the weaker of the two, the one of lockpicks and lockpicks and tools, is drawn to it, sees something of its former glory in the tarnished, battered, vine-wrapped metal. As they press further into the hollow, so what's going to happen is they're going to be attacked by a creature, and in a moment of panic, the thief will strike the drum and it will slay the creature, but because he doesn't understand the magic, it's also going to slay his companion, right? As they press further into the hollow, they uncover more horrors, aggressive and large and hungry. They fight for their lives. In a moment of panic, the new keeper strikes the drum and unleashes magic that has lain dormant for a century. With no knowledge of what he does, the percussive sound flashes out at all around it. The beast is slain, but so too is the keeper's companion. Cool. And then we choose from one of the tables. We choose from Victories and Valor or Neglect and Mischief. Powerful magic has a toll we're going to go with on Neglect and Mischief. The thief leaves the Hallow with the drum in hand and sets out to find new companions and to seek more treasure. But powerful magic has a toll, and he never learns how to properly wield it. You corrupted your keeper, causing malaise, sickness, and eventually death. Was this ruination intended? As the keeper spends more time with you, the tendrils of the Hallow that wrapped themselves, what it changed you to, round the metal and wood, also begin to bind themselves to the keeper's flesh. They take root in his skin, leak poison into his veins, and slowly his body blackens, withers, and dies. Fuck. Didn't intend to take that route, but there we go. And as he fades and draws his final breaths, the skin of the drum takes on a dark ashen cast. This ruination was not intentional, but there we go. Okay, so we also know now how that keeper dies. So, time, again, the ruination. Choose the amount of time you must wait until your next keeper arrives. Follow your chosen options and instructions. As you rest, think about the layers of dirt, sand and bone that accumulate upon the world you know, now buried and forgotten. Oh shit, okay. How long do we rest this time? Is it going to be another century? Let's do another century. Let's do centuries, just because I want you to hear the music. Let's do centuries. And then we'll choose Dust and Rust or Shifts and Currents. Okay, so, God, that music's so good. So, we've rested for centuries, right? Um, so now we need to pick another keeper. I'm torn here. I really like the idea of. So the story could go one of two ways now. If you look at the Ruination. Oh, sorry, first we need to do Dust and Rust or Shifts and Currents. So. We did Dust and Rust once, so maybe we do Shifts and Currents now. Let's have a look. Time reframes the actions of one of your keepers. Once considered a selfless hero as immoral or mercenary, what happened and what actions are twisted or reinterpreted. You are collected and catalogued by a municipal institution. Through excessive bureaucracy and pen pushing, you are lost in their arcane system. Where do you eventually emerge? We've kind of already done that. Travelling merchant, ignorant of the true power and rest undisturbed among their chests for a long time. What is the strangest place you visit as they make their extensive circuits across the known world? Swallowed by a passing sentient ooze. We get to be in a gelatinous cube. Or your name. I've never even given myself a name, so I don't think we'll do that one. I like the travelling merchant, right? ignorant of your true power and rest undisturbed among their chests for a long time. What is the strangest place you visit as they make their extensive circuits across the known world? So, the belongings of the treasure hunter are bought at auction. We've done a lot of being bought at auction by who is it? A travelling merchant who knows nothing of the power of the drum or its history. He sees only an ancient curio that may some value. What's the question? What is the strangest place you visit as they make their extensive circuits across the known world? He travels far and wide, traversing the face of a world that the drum has never known. For a month you travel across, what was the question? I keep forgetting. The strangest place. Ooh, let's think up a really weird location. Deep beneath the earth, through tunnels that pass through groves filled with sentient fungus. The walls are lined with mycelium veins. And the drum hears low whispering voices speaking to it that the merchant seems unaware of. The roots and tendrils wrapped around the brass of the drum sing quietly to the network, and by the time the merchant emerges into daylight once more, the drum feels almost as though a second intelligence has taken up. What's the word I'm looking for? Taken up. Inhabitants? No. Has begun to inhabit the skin of the drum alongside it. And that, I think, covers change something as well, really, doesn't it? So, we then move back to finding another keeper. So, there's an interesting option here. This could either be an archivist collector, and that will bring the story. So, let me just tell you what I'm thinking here. After we do this keeper, right, if you feel you've spent 10 minutes at rest across the entire game, or if your story is ready to end, this keeper is your last. I don't think we've spent 10 minutes at rest. I think we're not far off. But if you look at these keepers, they're quite final. Like, I like an archivist collector a lot, who has learned about the history of this drum and is like, you know, knows of it, and maybe sees it in this merchant's stall and is like, holy shit, this guy has no idea what he's selling, let's get that, let's preserve it. The Doomsday Cult could be trying to reactivate the Hallow, right? I think I want to give this drum a positive ending. So we're going to pick an Archivist Collector, and this is going to be the final keeper. Final keeper. And we'll tie it right back to the original keeper. And first collector. So, describe the archives they oversee and where you're stored. And which of the former keepers are they keen to study, and we need to describe them and their acquisition. Archivist name generator. Tell you what though, there's a library name generator. We'll use that. They're all a bit shit, aren't they? Do we go super? Ooh, I came up with I drew a map for a library years ago called the Octal Stacks, and we'll use that. So let's get a fantasy human name generator, because again I'm not good at this. Christ, they're not good. Jarrow Fernkeeper. Mayshell. A scholar, an archivist of the Octal Stacks who specialises in the Fallen Empire, where the drum was first crafted. Stories of its making have passed down over the centuries? I can't remember how long we've been here. Trees. Not well-known tales, but scraps of knowledge hidden in the larger history of the Empire. She is particularly interested in the story of the one who gave his skin to the forging of the drum, and has learned that he was of an ancient order of mages who stored magic in their skin with tattoos. She hopes to learn more of this forgotten school of magic, and believes that the skin of the drum, may hold some of the answers that she seeks. She finds the drum by a complete stroke of luck happening upon it when the merchant visits the city in which the Octal Stacks are situated. A city that stands on the site of the ruins of the old empire. Maybe the drum led the merchants back here without even realizing it was happening. We don't need to answer all these questions. So, which of your former I kind of answered both of those questions. Let's answer an artifact question. Oh, wait, we choose from the tables first, don't we? So, it's not going to be Neglect and Mischief at all. victories and valour. Do you know what? I don't think we need to do that. I don't think the drum gets put to any further use now. I think we can just write the end of this story. Mousehole is the kindest keeper the drum has encountered. She lovingly stores the drum, cleaning it and tuning it until it feels almost as good as when it's healthy and hale as when it was first crafted, though the vines sealed into the brass and wood remain, and the dark cast to the skin, ashen cast, will never be removed. She is careful in her study and discovers that the intelligence within the drum can speak if she just learns how to listen properly. Over many years, she studies and learns from the drum, making great inroads into the ancient school, forgotten school, tattoo magic, and managing to extract some details about the life of the one who gave his skin to the drum in the first place. The drum remains safe in the archives, and when Mousehole dies, it is passed into the care of her students, who continue to study and learn from it, and in time slowly start to record the history of the life the drum has led. And I think that's the end. I think that's the end of this drum's story. How do we feel about that? That didn't go in the direction I expected it to go in at all, and that's half the fun of these. Well, that's all the fun of these games, really. So yeah, that was the Artefact by. Let me just. Anyone with the link can view this. Copy link. So yeah, that is the Artefact by Jack Harrison of Mousehole Press, who was here briefly. I hope you enjoyed that. So what did we do? We played. What the fuck is Alex's game called? Before the Dawn, a Wretched and Low game by Alex, which you should definitely check out, and check out the other games in the Wretched and Alone Jam as well. There's some really good stuff. This has been really lovely. I've loved to have the stream while I deal with some stressful emails. It's great. I'm sorry you've had to deal with stressful emails, but I'm really glad that you've enjoyed the stream. Thank you so much, and thank you for hanging out and being here. And you too, Ozzy, thank you for popping in. So yeah, that's the Artefact. There's a link up in chat. You should go and pick it up. It's gorgeous. I don't know if he's still selling it in print, but if you can get it in print, it's a really, really nice book. It's really good quality. It's even stitched rather than stapled. It's gorgeous. You're very, very welcome, Holy Crow Batman. Thank you for being here. Here's a link to all the writing I just did if you want to read it or whatever. I highly recommend you check out the Artefact, check out the Wretched Jam. pop over to Twitter and say hello as well. I am at Pangalactic. I assume you're all here because you already follow me. But if you don't, pop over, say hello. And yeah, what I'm going to do is I will put the soundtrack to this game is gorgeous. I'm going to put one of the last tracks on, the one that you play if you're waiting for an epoch. So that lasts for, God, I can't even remember how long. 6 minutes. I'll play that and then I'll stop the stream, and that will be it for the day. Thank you so much. Possibly going to do some more streaming tomorrow, but keep an eye on my Twitter and I will let you know. And have a great day, all of you. Thank you very much for being here.